The hangar smelled of oil, steel, and long hours, the kind of air that clung to your clothes even after you'd gone home. Ethan Wells stood alone beneath the skeleton of a helicopter, hands black with grease, sleeves rolled up past the elbows. He wasn't an engineer, not by degree, just a mechanic, but he'd spent 20 years keeping machines alive and dreaming of building one that could never die. That morning, the big shots had come. The CEO of Aerodyne Industries, Richard Hale, walked in wearing $1 million suit and $1 billion ego. Beside him were a few engineers in polished shoes, whispering specs and formulas that sounded impressive, but didn't mean a thing to Ethan's calloused. And the company had poured millions into a new helicopter engine design, one that still refused to work. Richard smirked when he saw Ethan tinkering with the prototype. "You're just a mechanic, Wells," he said. "Leave the engineering to the engineers." The men laughed. Ethan didn't. He just wiped his hands, nodded once, and quietly said, "Understood, sir." But that night, long after everyone had gone home, Ethan stayed. He couldn't let it go. The design was wrong. Too much compression, not enough airflow. He could feel it, the way a musician feels when a note is off. He tore open the casing, sketched on the back of a coffee-stained maintenance form, and realigned the core blades by hand. By dawn, his back hurt. His eyes burned, but when he turned the ignition, the machine roared to life like a living thing. The next morning, when the team arrived, they froze. The helicopter's engine was running, stable, clean, perfect. One of the engineers shouted, "Who did this?" Ethan stepped forward quietly. "I made a few adjustments." Richard Hale's smile faded. "You're saying you fixed what my entire research division couldn't?" Ethan shrugged. "Didn't fix it, just listened to it." The CEO chuckled in disbelief. "You're just a mechanic, not an engineer." "Maybe so," Ethan said, "but engines don't care about titles." That line hung in the air like a spark about to ignite a fire. Word spread fast. Military representatives visiting the hangar that week demanded a demonstration. Ethan climbed into the cockpit himself, hands trembling slightly as the rotors began to spin. The engine hummed, smooth, powerful, lighter on fuel than any design before it. The test flight lasted an hour. When he landed, the entire crowd erupted into applause. One of the military officers turned to Richard. "Who designed this engine?" The CEO hesitated. His pride wanted to lie. His investors waited for his answer. But Ethan stood there covered in grease, and Richard finally sighed. He did. Overnight, Ethan Wells became the name whispered across the aviation world. Reporters called him the mechanic who outsmarted the engineers. Aerodyne's stock tripled in a week, but Ethan didn't care about fame. He cared about the sky. He used his bonus to build scholarships for kids from trade schools, the kind who didn't have degrees but had raw brilliance and calloused hands like his. A few weeks later, Richard called him into his office. The CEO looked different, humbled. "Even Wells," he said, "we're expanding the division. I want you to lead the next project." Ethan smiled faintly. "I thought I was just a mechanic," Richard exhaled. "You're the reason we're still in business." Months later, the U.S. Army adopted Ethan's design for a new generation of rescue helicopters, quieter, safer, more efficient. They saved lives in disaster zones, hurricanes and mountain rescues across the world. Each time one lifted off the ground, somewhere out there a mechanic was reminded that genius doesn't always come with a degree. Sometimes it comes with oil-stained hands and sleepless nights. One evening, years later, Ethan stood on a hill overlooking a test flight. A young trainee walked up, nervous and eager. "Sir," the boy asked, "how did you know it would work?" Ethan smiled, watching the chopper rise into the sunset. "I didn't," he said. "I just knew it deserved to." The rotor blades caught the dying sunlight like wings made of fire, and as the helicopter disappeared into the horizon, Ethan felt the same hum in his chest that he'd felt that first night in the hangar, the sound of something greater than machines. It was the sound of faith in one's craft, in quiet persistence, in believing that what you build with your heart will someday take flight. He was never just a mechanic. He was the man who changed the sky.